Hello, and welcome to the Prefect Summit. I'm Jeremiah, and we're so glad you could join us today. We've got a lot in store, from major product announcements to insights from some of our largest customers. But more than anything, I'm excited to share our vision for the future of Prefect and how we're empowering data teams to tackle the next generation of data challenges. And it all starts with a simple but powerful idea: trust. When it comes to data, trust is the foundation of every decision, every insight, and every product we build. It's what gives us the confidence to move and ship quickly. And yet, as our data systems have become more complex and distributed, that trust has become harder than ever to maintain. Think about the evolution of the data stack. Just a few years ago, the data warehouse was the center of the universe. All eyes were on building those core ETL pipelines, optimizing for performance and ensuring the integrity of our most valuable data assets. But today, the warehouse is becoming increasingly commoditized. Very few companies would try to claim that their ETL pipelines are a core strategic differentiator. And that's because the warehouse may be where value is stored, but it's often not where value is created. Today, the real action is happening elsewhere. Modern companies are supported by a long tail of custom workflows that activate data and make it operational. This is a vast, complex web of bespoke pipelines and applications that encode an organization's unique logic and competitive advantages. They span a huge range of use cases, from personalized customer experiences to fraud detection to dynamic pricing. They intersect the warehouse to leverage proprietary data and enhance it with domain-specific insights and business logic. In fact, every single one of those long-tail workflows reflects a unique business requirement that could not be met elsewhere. They're often maintained by smaller teams with tighter deadlines under immense pressure to deliver results. And they quietly power the most critical applications, dashboards, and insights that drive our businesses forward. These are the all-singing, all-dancing, unsung heroes of the data ecosystem. And that's a problem, because it seems like the first rule of data workflows is we don't talk about data workflows. These long-tail pipelines are rarely treated with the same care and attention as their warehouse-centric counterparts, despite often representing the majority of a company's aggregate compute. And in part, that makes sense, because each one is significantly less visible to the organization. The typical Prefect customer has tens, maybe hundreds of core data pipelines, and thousands or even millions of long-tail runs every single day. These workflows are under-tested and under-documented as they rapidly evolve with the needs of the business, and yet it is imperative that we have confidence in these workflows, because a company that can't trust its data is a company that can't make decisions. And that's why modern data teams face such a relentless challenge. Not only must they constantly watch for obvious failures in their core pipelines, but that burden of vigilance extends to any subtle misalignment that could ripple through the long-tail workflows and threaten their integrity. Because the thing about trust is it's incredibly fragile, and nothing erodes trust faster than failure. Every person watching this has either had one of their workflows fail or been a victim of workflow failure. You all know the creeping horror of realizing something's wrong. You know the doubt of wondering if your reports are up to date. And you know how embarrassing it is to be asked if a metric is correct. No one here is surprised that sometimes workflows fail. Except, it seems, the people who build workflow software. For 50 years, workflow orchestration software has treated failure as an outlier, as a surprise, as something that's not their responsibility to deal with. And look, I get it. Dealing with failure is hard. It's time-consuming, it's annoying, it's expensive, and nobody writes code that they actually expect to fail. But in the long tail, we cannot afford to ignore it. Because failure in the long tail is different. It's not just an inconvenience, it's an existential threat. Failures in the long tail exhibit three characteristics that make them uniquely challenging. First, they often go unnoticed. The truth is, it's actually a blessing when a pipeline crashes because at least you know for sure that something's wrong. In the long tail, we often don't have the benefit of schemas, robust data quality checks, or other objective measures. It's much easier for corrupt data, bad calculations, or just missed assumptions to slip through. And these silent failures can be incredibly difficult to detect and diagnose. Second, failures propagate and compound. In a complex web of dependencies, a small issue can have far-reaching consequences. A typical scenario is that one workflow produces an inadvertent error that causes a downstream workflow to crash. And the two workflows might not even be aware of each other, which is why the blast radius of a failure can be so much larger than the initial point of failure. Third, and perhaps most frustratingly, Failures are usually discovered by stakeholders, not authors. These long-tail workflows usually correspond to business requirements, so they are built by one team and depended on by another. When a failure occurs, it is usually the end user who discovers it, not the author, and this makes triage especially complicated, as the person aware of the error isn't the person who can fix it. These characteristics all make traditional approaches to error handling woefully inadequate. We cannot simply rely on retry logic or static thresholds. We need a new approach, one that acknowledges the reality of failure in the long tail and provides the tools and frameworks to build truly resilient systems. An approach that lets teams move faster because they're not terrified of breaking things. And that's exactly what we've been building at Prefect. We believe that the way to build trust in software is to make it resilient. Now, to be clear, resilient doesn't mean immune to failure. It means that when failure takes place, we can still understand the behavior of the system. Because trust isn't built on faith, it's built on knowledge. We started with Prefect 1, which introduced functional orchestration, a completely new developer experience for writing workflows. Prefect 1 met users where they were and embraced the tools they were already using. And that approach was so successful that it has been adopted by every major orchestration product available today. With Prefect 2, we moved past static workflows and introduced dynamic orchestration, allowing the use of native control flow to adapt to changing conditions in real time. We upgraded workflow pipelines to workflow applications capable of rich logic and engaging non-technical stakeholders. And at every step of the way, our goal has been to empower data teams to build systems that are not only resilient, but also performant. Because speed without reliability is a recipe for disaster, but true velocity, the kind that lets you confidently tackle ambitious challenges and deliver exceptional results, is impossible without a foundation of unshakable trust. We've seen this firsthand. Prefect's largest customers reported cycle time reductions of up to 95% after deploying Prefect. And in part, that's because a good orchestrator lets you deploy code quickly. But the bulk of that improvement was attributed to a massive reduction in mean time to resolution, which speaks to just how disproportionately damaging these failures can be. But it's only going to get harder. With the pace of development accelerating, the probability of errors gets higher. Most modern orchestrators have responded by bolting on features like unit testing and data quality checks. And while these help, they reflect a dangerous trope that the best way to avoid failure is to predict it. Prefect's VP of Engineering spent the last few years working in CI, and he once observed that 99% of production bugs come from green builds, or builds where all the tests have passed. What this means is developers are really good at affirming the behavior they expect, and really bad at predicting the behavior they don't. And that bad behavior, that unpredictability, is exactly why people reach for an orchestrator in the first place. Let's be honest, no one has ever said, everything's great, let's add an orchestrator. Instead, they choose tools like Prefect precisely because they need confidence in the behavior of a complex system in order to ensure a reliable outcome. And that's why our vision is to build the platform for the resilient enterprise. Companies that can move fast and innovate with confidence because their data systems are built to withstand the unexpected. Where data teams can embrace new technologies and push the boundaries of what's possible, knowing that their workflows have their back. And where trust in data is not a luxury, it's the default. And this summer, that's what we're delivering with Prefect 3. Prefect 3 is a framework for building workflows that are resilient by design. This isn't just a collection of new features. It's a new way of thinking about data workflows. It's a philosophy of resilience, transparency, and trust that we're embedding into the very core of our platform. We want you to build workflows that you can trust, which means treating them as resilient applications, robust to failure, and built for change. We want you to be able to define and understand their behavior even when things go wrong. And that's why there are 3 key pillars that support Prefect 3's vision of resilient workflows. The first is transactional orchestration. We've taken the transactional semantics that you depend on in your most critical systems, your databases and your financial applications, and we've brought them natively to your Python workflows. With transactional orchestration, you can group multiple tasks into an atomic unit of work and define failure modes right alongside your happy path code. If any part of a transaction fails, the entire unit can be rolled back to a clean state. This has profound implications for how you build resiliency into your workflows and what it means to integrate with Prefect. And once you start writing ACID-compliant Python, it's very hard to imagine anything else. But the benefits of transactional orchestration go even further. A key consequence of our approach is that your entire workflow, or any of its tasks, can become automatically and configurably idempotent. Idempotency is a game-changing property for data pipelines, ensuring the tasks can be safely rerun in any environment without fear of duplication or inconsistency. With Prefect 3, idempotency comes standard, making your workflows naturally resilient to a wide range of failure modes. The second pillar of Prefect 3 is that we've redesigned its engine to be completely portable. This extends our existing capabilities around task runners and work pools to support running any function anywhere, whether it's a laptop, a Lambda, or even a legacy orchestrator. You don't even need to set up a full workflow. Just decorate the function, call it, and you'll get the full benefits of orchestration and observability. This is our third generation orchestration engine, and it is the fastest and most scalable one we've ever built. In many cases, we've reduced overhead by more than 90% compared to Prefect 2. And third, Prefect 3 is flexible. Building on our commitment to modeling even the most complex enterprise workflows, we're open sourcing the event-driven engine that was previously only available in Prefect Cloud. This engine has been battle-tested by some of the largest companies in the world. And now you can build event-driven workflows and automations, which are a powerful way to create near real-time systems. But we're not stopping there. Prefect 3 is a fully multimodal orchestrator with native support for not just batch and event-driven workflows, but also for embedded or interactive workflows, human-in-the-loop situations, and background tasks. You can combine any of these capabilities to model your workflows in the most natural way possible. Prefect 3 represents a fundamental shift in how we approach data engineering and how we empower you to build the reliable, scalable, and adaptable systems that power the modern enterprise. But there is another force transforming our industry, one with the potential to redefine how we work, build, and innovate. And that force, of course, is AI. And that's why I'm equally excited to announce our new open source framework, ControlFlow. ControlFlow lets you build agentic LLM workflows that you can actually trust. At its core, it's based on a very simple premise that agents are most effective when applied to small, well-defined tasks and run off the rails otherwise. By composing these discrete tasks, we can get all the benefits of complex behavior without the risks of too much autonomy. And this significantly mitigates hallucinations and unexpected behavior while making it easier to debug, monitor, and of course control your agents. This approach is sometimes called flow engineering. For us, it's the culmination of 1 year of using our Marvin framework to work with partners as they deployed AI so that we could see the best practices that actually matter in production. That's why ControlFlow is code first, chat second. You declare the tasks you need the AI to complete, and the orchestrator goes to work, coordinating one or more agents to achieve those goals while giving you as much or as little control of the while loop as you want. And ControlFlow supports every major LLM provider and open source model, allowing you to choose the right agent for every single task while sharing consistent history and context throughout. And of course, ControlFlow is built on top of Prefect 3 because AI workflows require a dynamic orchestration engine. That means that you can seamlessly mix AI-delegated tasks with traditional software tasks and maintain full visibility without 2 different stacks. For the first time, AI engineers can respond to failure programmatically, just like Prefect users have been doing for years. And because of transactions, when an agent runs into trouble, you can actually roll back its memory so it can try again with a clean slate. The most important thing about ControlFlow is that it makes agentic behavior visible and controllable, and that is the foundation of trust. That's important because at Prefect we believe that a good workflow must be easy to trust. And we also believe that trust is earned not through rigid perfection, but through transparent resilience. This is a subtle but profound shift in mindset. It means acknowledging that failures are inevitable, but also that they're manageable. And that is the essence of what we mean by resilient by design. It's not about building workflows that never fail, but about building workflows that can adapt and heal in any circumstance, with consistent behavior throughout. And as we look to the future, this mindset has never been more important. The world of data engineering is becoming more complex, more dynamic and more consequential by the day. The rise of AI, the explosion of long-tail processes, the growing imperative for trust and transparency. All of these trends are putting unprecedented pressure on our data systems and our data teams. But with Prefect 3 and Control Flow, we're ready to meet this challenge. By making resiliency a core part of our platform, we're empowering data teams to build workflows that are trustworthy by default. Workflows that can stand up to the rigors and uncertainties of the real world. So whether you're a data engineer, an AI engineer, or an internal software engineer, I hope you'll join us and help us build the next generation of data workflows. Workflows that support the long tail of activity that all of our companies depend on. Workflows that we can truly trust, even when they fail. And workflows that are resilient by design. Thank you, and happy engineering.